Now, in discussing once again what was happening during the First World War at this time 100 years ago, we're coming back to Russia and what had happened on the Russian calendar, which was exactly 100 years ago today, although that is in dispute because Russians were using a calendar which was 13 days behind the calendar we were using here in the United States. So while it happened on October 25th, 1917 in Russia, it actually happened, according to the calendar in the West, on November 7th, 1917. What had taken place, backing up a little bit, was after the Tsar had abdicated in the spring of 1917 and the Romanov dynasty had left St. Petersburg, and the Russian provisional government had taken charge and tried for the first time to actually form a democratic government in Russia, something that had never been done before. And they were trying to get it put together, and it just was going very slow and was going quite hard as it was. And it was not being helped by the fact that Lenin and the Bolsheviks were doing everything they can to undermine what they were doing and to make sure that all of the animosity and hatred that was originally toward the Tsar was now being directed toward the Duma, the Russian provisional government. And so, on this day, in October 25th, Lenin and the Bolsheviks led a pretty much a bloodless revolution, and they walked into the Duma, took over the Duma, and they took over the Winter Palace, and they effectively overthrew the Russian provisional government. And the Bolsheviks would eventually go on to become the Communist Party and would form the Soviet Union. Now, the first thing they did was that they issued the decree on bread, as I said before. They were going to be completely eliminating all private land ownership, everything, which was largely directed at the handful who own 99% of all of the businesses and all the property. So they took all that, liquidated everything, and made everything nationalized. But an interesting point, there was a few that they did not touch. One specifically was the company Smirnoff. Yes, the vodka makers. They did not nationalize Smirnoff, which is why it stayed quite successful even to this day. So that was how you could say a smart business venture to not touch their vodka source. But they did that, and then they eliminated land ownership. They started handing out bread to all the populace. And another thing they issued the exact same time, actually the very next day, was they said they were going to get Russia out of the war, which got Britain and France's attention because that was the only condition they cared about when it came to the Russian provisional government was, are you going to stay in the war? Lenin said immediately, we are going to get out of this war. So there'll be more on that to come. There you go.